Okay, so Mars in Scorpio is mostly going to be a good thing because Mars owns Scorpio. So there's mostly going to be a lot of resonance, harmonic resonance, harmonious resonance between the planet and the sign that it's occupying. Hence, you'll get pretty decent results. But because Scorpio is a water sign, there is one kind of curveball that gets thrown into this mix as well. So now let's check out the details about this. The first thing that's good about Mars in Scorpio is that Mars is the planet of self-reliance, independence, individuality, etc. And its sign, Scorpio, also has that nature, obviously, since it owns the sign. So it's a very independent, individualistic sign, and the planet represents individualism and independence. So when you have Mars in Scorpio, the indication is that the native has a lot of individuality to them. They're fairly unique. They're not cookie cutter. They won't like to be following other people so much. They'll like to be free to feel their own way, especially since Scorpio is a water sign. It differs from Mars and Aries. You would get the same basic thing with Mars and Aries. But when it's in Scorpio, it's more like the person is individualistic and unique about how they emotionally react to things and how their emotional opinions about things are quite unique, and they want freedom to decide for themselves whether they enjoy something or don't enjoy something, like something or don't like something, feel happy or sad about something. So they could be quite different from the crowd in terms of how things affect them. The other thing that is because of this synergy on the individuality is that these people, because they feel differently than the rest, they tend to present sort of a challenge to the norm. They present a bit of a challenge to society, so they'll push envelopes. They'll push norms a bit. They'll get people a bit out of their comfort zone. So, for example, everybody will feel a certain way about a joke. But this person with Mars and Scorpio will feel a different way about a joke. And by feeling differently about the joke, it pushes the rest of the people to consider this different, way of feeling. So the Mars and Scorpio native tends to be a bit influential on others because of pushing them out of their normal views and feelings and opinions. And so they're also, Mars and Scorpio people are quite good at changing the mood of a thing, changing the mood of a setting, changing the mood at a party, changing the mood in any scenario. The next harmonious thing about Mars in Scorpio is that Mars is male, so it has testosterone, it signifies testosterone, so it signifies libido, so it signifies passion. And Scorpio, being Mars' sign, is a passionate place. And because it's a water sign, it's an emotionally passionate place. So what you get with Mars in Scorpio is a person who has a lot of passion. So what is it going to mean? Well, first of all, it's going to mean the natives are usually driven. They're not lackadaisical in their desires and wants and drives and ambitions. They're driven. Another way to say this is they're highly motivated. And of course, the third permutation of the word passionate is sexually passionate. They have a strong libido. They have strong desires. They have strong ambitions. They have strong libido. And it's on the basis of these two synergies that Mars and Scorpio is basically good. It's good in the sense that it makes a person who is emotionally independent or emotionally unique is able to feel differently and react differently and opine differently about situations and things, and therefore is kind of a mover or a changer in their social group, has a lot of ambition, has a lot of passion and drive, and thus is likely to push themselves to succeed. Now, the one curveball that I mentioned about Mars and Scorpio is basically on the fact that it's a water sign, and Mars is a fiery planet. So here you have a disharmonious resonance. And the way that it plays out is water makes things introspective, but masculinity is extroversive. So you get natives who are unpredictable about how they will deal with secrets. Some secrets they will never reveal, and other secrets they will instantly tell the world. Some things they're very, very reserved about, and other things which you would expect them to be reserved about, they're very, very open with. They have an intense need for extroversion and the opportunity to be extroversive, the opportunity to be given a spotlight. Yet, at the first drop of a hat of something changing, they totally change their tune and they want to be left alone. They want to find a hole to crawl into like a scorpion. So this is one issue with Mars and Scorpio. It exacerbates the complication of extroversion versus introversion. But on the plus side, this gives them a sort of charisma, which is like the person has a sense of a slight sense of danger to them, which is mysterious and attractive and, compelling. Now, there are many famous people with Mars and Scorpio, famous and important people, and this makes a lot of sense because it's a basic principle that a planet in its own sign does well. So, no surprise that Mars and Scorpio produces a lot of search results in terms of important and famous people who have it. You have the leader type: Mahatma Gandhi, Joe Biden, Joseph Stalin, Mao Zedong, and George Washington. So here you're seeing the individualism and the envelope pushing and the having influence over the opinions of others. Then you have Mark Zuckerberg, who pretty well exemplifies the passion sense of Mars, and that it has a lot of ambition and hunger. Then you have two great authors, J.R.R. Tolkien and Jean-Paul Sartre, who is also a philosopher. Tolkien is also a bit of a philosopher in his own right. So really here, these are people who are thinking different than others and having radically different opinions about things than other people. You have Bruce Lee with Mars and Scorpio. It's kind of nice to see this show up on the list, at least one person who's like a fighter or a typical Mars archetype. In terms of musicians, some of the ones that I found noteworthy are Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain, and Dave Grohl, and Marilyn Manson. So these musicians, they all have this particular thing in common where there's this mysterious dangerousness thing about them. Super differentness. Their punky attitude. And then in terms of entertainers, there's Leonardo DiCaprio, who's quite masculine. Joaquin Phoenix, also quite individualistic, has very different opinions about things than most people in his circles. Bill Cosby, mysterious secrets, some weird stuff going on with the passions. Benicio del Toro, a mysterious figure, a monster crafter. Kind of, you could put him up there with Tolkien. Morgan Freeman, a very strong actor who did his own thing. Almost just basically plays himself. And then Oprah Winfrey, very ambitious, very successful, and making money like Mark Zuckerberg. So as for a few of these charts in more detail, comparing Mahatma Gandhi with somebody like Joseph Stalin, I think is important and interesting. Mahatma Gandhi is a Vishaka Nakshatra, Mars, but what is important about Mahatma's Mars and Scorpio is that it is exactly opposite to Jupiter. And it's conjoined Venus. So with Mahatma Gandhi, you have an example of Mars and Scorpio under the influence of the two benefics. And hence, his Mars and Scorpio is of a more benefic, peaceful type. Whereas with Joseph Stalin, it's also in Vishaka, but it does not have an aspect from Jupiter or Venus. On the other hand, it's actually aspecting Jupiter. So here is the opposite thing, where this Mars is actually dominating over the benefic. With Mark Zuckerberg, it's not opposite of Jupiter like for Gandhi, it's opposite of Venus. So here's a person who's desirous of wealth. It's really bringing out the nature of Mars and Scorpio. The potential of Mars and Scorpio to make a person very passionate for wealth comes out if it's aspected by Venus. And conjoined with the moon. The moon is also a very, consumery planet. As for Bruce Lee has got a different nakshatra than we have seen so far. He has the Swati nakshatra. So this is really emphasizing him going off on his own, being alone, being unique, being like in a foreign place. And it's exactly opposite Jupiter, like Mahatma Gandhi, but it's also exactly opposite Saturn. So it gets the refinement of Jupiter, but it also gets the brutality of Saturn. And it is conjoined with the Moon and Venus, so it gets blessed. And so it's really aligning, a lot of the planets are lining up with his Scorpio Mars. So it's becoming very influential. And it's in the 6th and 12th house axis, so it gets tough. As for Jimi Hendrix also has this Mars in Vishaka Nakshatra, and it also has a relationship with Jupiter. It's trine to Jupiter. Joaquin Phoenix also has his Mars in Scorpio trine to Jupiter and conjoined Venus. So basic principle that's coming out is, fine, you have planet A in sign B, and this other person has planet A in sign B, but they're not the same things. This other person has such and such influence on their Mars, and you have some other influence on your Mars, or your Mars is instead influencing something else. See, this is how the actual astrology reading works. When you talk about Mars and Scorpio, you're talking about a part of the puzzle that you use. So it's important that you understand it clearly, but you also have to understand that it's part of the puzzle. Then when we look at the actual people with Mars and Scorpio, you can see how the puzzle pieces fit together with other puzzle pieces. So here you see it's really important. Most of the people on this list, Mahatma Gandhi, Mark Zuckerberg, Bruce Lee, Jimi Hendrix, Joaquin Phoenix, they have benefic influence, strong, important, undeniable, exact benefic influence to this Mars in Scorpio. Joaquin Phoenix too, he also has Jupiter trine to his Mars in Scorpio, Venus conjoined to his Mars in Scorpio, and it's in Chitra Nakshatra, which is just barely in there in Scorpio currently. This Chitra Nakshatra is very intelligent and talented. It's able to create beauty. It's artistically oriented. And I thought it would be impossible not to look at Bill Cosby, since he's so strongly he rings a bell with the passion and secrecy nature of Mars and Scorpio. It's in Vishaka Nakshatra like most of the people, but he does not have aspects from Venus or Jupiter or anything. And instead, it's one-way aspecting Venus. So similar to Joseph Stalin's situation. Joseph Stalin's Mars in Scorpio, which is not an evil thing, it's a good thing, but it's not being influenced by a benefic, it's actually influencing the benefic. So it's taking dominance. And same thing with Bill Cosby. His Mars in Scorpio is not being influenced by a benefic, but rather it's influencing the benefics. So I hope you find that very interesting. Thank you very much for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video and leave a comment and all that great stuff. And I'll see you soon with the rest of my live streams and all that stuff. Now, what we do in these videos with the planets and the signs is I show you a consistent technique that you can use for any planet and any sign. And the technique is very simple. You look for where the planet symbolizes something that's very, very similar to what the sign symbolizes. And once you find that, you assess whether or not the planet and the sign are harmonious about that thing, or whether they're antithetical about that thing. The dissonant resonance reveals what's complex or difficult for the native. The harmonious resonance, on the other hand, indicates what's easy, what comes natural, what's an inherent strength for the native. What I'm teaching you really is the method of how to do astrological interpretation by going down into the engine of the symbolism and comparing the parts. The actual interpretation that you should give is going to be individualized per the individual chart. So if you have person A with the moon in Scorpio and person B with the moon in Scorpio, it's not going to be exactly the same interpretation, because person B's moon might have an aspect from something and person A's moon doesn't, etc., 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 etc. But what I'm showing you in the videos is the backbone of what a planet and a sign symbolizes. And once you understand that backbone, you modify it based on the circumstances extraneous circumstances that are affecting an individual chart. So I hope you really like this system, not just this one video, but all the videos that we do on the planets and the signs. We'll do them all. And I hope you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of those. And I hope to see you around soon. Thank you.